I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is the Fox 26 YouTube tropical forecast. Now, normally it's a bit of a wide discussion of everything happening in the Atlantic, but because we've got something headed to Houston, this is very much going to be a discussion about Nicholas. And Nicholas is the tropical storm that was formed officially at around 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. Of course, we've been watching the area of disturbed weather all the way on the other side of the Yucatan in the Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico. But officially at 10 a.m. On Sunday morning, the Hurricane Center identifying this as a tropical storm, named it Nicholas. And the information that I'm giving you right now, the latest from the 4 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. So we'll try to keep you updated as we move on, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And it is kind of what we had expected. It's sort of a weak tropical storm at the moment. It's going to continue to see some more favorable conditions and increase in its organization and strength. And all of this rain that you're seeing is what our main concern is for us here in the Houston area. Definitely going to be a bit of a wind threat for some other areas along Texas, but the computer model's beginning to get a little better idea of what's happening, definitely getting a little bit closer of a consensus on what's going to be happening. And it looks like at the moment that it is going to pretty much take a straight shot towards Corpus Christi, maybe a little bit in the Matagorda Bay area or somewhere in between. And then at that point, it would start making a little bit more of a curve to the right or a northeasterly track somewhat. That would definitely take it close enough to Houston that we're going to see some impacts here in the Houston area and across, southeast Texas. So we're continuing, again, to keep a very close watch on that. They've really just started reorganizing and moving around some of these watches and warnings. So they look a little disorganized to me. It's a little hard to follow, but basically, note that when you're closer to where the storm is going to make its landfall and the timing, you'll have a warning. And these are based pretty much all about winds. How strong are the winds going to be? And the watch is when it's a little bit further out, when it's closer to 48 hours out. So that's why we've kind of got a couple different things happening. There is some storm surge concerns as well all along the coast. Those are going to continue to be updated as well. But we're going to see that there will be somewhat of a problem, but it's not an overwhelming problem here across the Galveston area. But there will be at least 2 to 4 feet of a storm surge that will increase somewhat of our tides as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And here's the main thing that we really want to point out with this system at the moment. It does look to be a flooding event for the largest number of people impacted. So if you're right on the coast, then yes, you've got some storm surge issues. You've got a little bit more of a wind issue, especially if you're closer to that, wherever that eye of the storm might actually end up. But really, all of us are going to be ready for a flooding event. So basically, don't just go running out the door and taking care of those normal afternoon errands that you were thinking that you could do without an interruption. There's going to be some rain that floods some roadways and even maybe some of our bayous as we get a little further into the event. So again, stay connected Monday and Tuesday and make sure that it's okay to leave. You might be one of those times where just stay where you are is the best idea. So flooding event is the concern for the most of us. Now, I'm going to show you the main 2 computer models that we're using nowadays, the GFS and the Euro. And I want you to watch how I'm overlaying this tropical storm symbol is the track from the Hurricane Center. So the symbol here is the Hurricane Center's track, and then all the other information is going to be the GFS model. So sort of watch how this plays out. Basically, what I'm going to try to show you here is that the GFS is taking it a little bit closer to Houston, a little bit further to the east. And when we look at the European model, everything's going a little bit further to the west, and the Hurricane Center is kind of putting it a little bit down the middle, maybe favoring the European just a little bit. That's all my opinion at this point. We'll go ahead and let the Hurricane Center folks talk for themselves if they want to. But see how when we look at, again, this circle here of the low pressure, that's what the GFS model is saying. It's a little bit further over to the east. The forecast track from the Hurricane Center takes it a little bit further to the west, also just a little bit faster. But basically, again, that landfall taking place between Corpus Christi and Matagorda from the Hurricane Center, and it looks like the GFS favors a little bit more. Notice where all the rain is. So the GFS is going to take most of that rain right across the Houston area. So that's one of the big reasons that we're really concerned with the flooding. So now we're going to switch to the European model, and you'll notice the European model just a little bit slower, but also keeping that rain further over to the west and also keeping it much further over towards Austin. So that looks like there might try to be more of a flooding event for the hill country and not as much as over towards the Houston area, but still plenty enough that we are concerned with somewhat of that flooding threat. So I'm expecting to see that flood watch get a little bit moved over for the folks closer to Austin. I think they're going to be included in this a little bit more. And again, I'm stopping this on Wednesday at 10 p.m. So Tuesday, Wednesday is sort of when things start to wind down a little bit. So now let's just take a look exactly at what the Hurricane Center says. I always have a lot of confidence on where the Hurricane Center says that these systems are going to go. And then we always remind ourselves that statistically speaking, that the strength, the intensity might be a little bit more, just a little bit less. And so keep that in mind as far as when you look at the rainfall totals and the wind totals or the wind speeds as we're moving on. So here's the official track from the Hurricane Center. Pretty much takes it over Corpus Christi or just a little bit to the east. That landfall happening Monday night into Tuesday morning. So that's when we're expecting an actual landfall, keeping its strength as a tropical storm. Now that's pretty close to a hurricane as far as the strength goes. So a little bit more and it could be a hurricane. And then we see that center go just about halfway between Houston and Austin, where we're seeing the center of that storm track. We're definitely going to keep plenty of rain in our forecast since we are on the east side of the center of that storm, and then it continues to slow down. We don't like it when it slows down, but maybe or hopefully it's further enough inland that there won't be as much moisture being drawn up and in, but still a possibility that it can tap in to the Gulf and bring in more of that moisture and spread around its rain a little bit more. So that's going to be the main concern. This computer model, again, it gives us an idea of what we're looking for as far as that rainfall goes, and depending on where the eye makes its landfall, this largest swath of the heaviest rain can move a little further to the west, or maybe stay where it is, or move a little further to the east. So there's still time for this area of the heaviest rain band, this axis, if you will, to kind of slide 50 miles or 20 or 50 miles to the west, 20 or 50 miles to the east, and that's when we're looking at a concern for those flooding, exactly where that falls and how long it takes. So in very general terms, 5 to 10 inches of rain is kind of what we're forecasting for the Houston area over and through Wednesday. And then isolated areas still looking at 15 inches or possibly even just a little bit more. Download the Fox 26 weather app. If you haven't done that, you're going to be able to get those updates quickly. We're going to be able to push information to you directly from the Fox 26 Weather Center. You can manage how you receive those. And look me up. I'm at John Dawson Fox 26. Twitter and Facebook is going to be the main way I'm going to be communicating with you about Nicholas over the next couple of days. It'd be great if you want to follow me on the Instagram as well for my hurricane gear test segments. And of course, you can also look for meteorologist John Dawson on YouTube as well. So thanks for joining us for this update. We'll continue to give you updates as we move through the next several days and Nicholas's impact on Southeast Texas.